a particular set of norms for communication that reflect certain views on linguistic behavior, such as what is the most prestigious variety of the language in a particular setting, even if not all members of the community actually are able to use this variety. The third, discourse and language choice. Speakers then often have a repertoire of social identities and discourse community membership. They may also have linguistic repertoire that they draw on for their linguistic interaction. That is, they may have the number of languages or language varieties they use to interact in their particular communities. This kind of situation is common in many parts of the world. The choice of language or language variety may be determined by the domain the language is being used in, such as with family, among friends, and in religious, educational, and employment setting. Social factors such as who we're speaking to, the social context of the interaction, the topic, function, and goal of interaction, social distance between speakers, the formality of the setting or type of the interaction, and the status of which the speaker are also important for accounting for the language choice that the person makes in these kinds of setting. Holmes, 2001. The use of slang among teenagers in Singapore illustrate. Wait. The use of slang among teenagers in Singapore illustrate a deliberate choice in the use of a language variety to communicate with each other as well, to signal a particular group membership in an article, Tan, 2005. Discuss how teenagers in Singapore use slang in their speech as a way of bonding with their friends, as well as to ensure their conversation will remain private. For example, one Singaporean teenagers coined the acronym CCG to mean cute guy, so that she could talk about very cute boys to her friend without anyone else understanding what she was saying. A speaker or written may also be speaker of a particular language variety, but be using that the variety to communicate with a wider speech community than just their own. Okay, thank you very much. For the next
Okay,
one,
thank
I
you
would
very
like
much,
to
Ma'am
hand
Win,
back
for
to
the first presentation. And Bapak Ibu, if you have some question, maybe you can write it down first, or you can keep it first, because we are going to continue to the next presenter. Yeah, Ibu Anissa for the second part. Time is yours, Bu Anissa.
Okay, thank you so much, Busiwi. Let's begin. I would like to explain about discourse, social class, and social networks. A further factor which influences the use of spoken and written discourse is social class. By Leboeuf, 1966, social class is somewhat difficult to define, and its identification can be somewhat subjective. Factors which may help will include occupation, education, income, housing, and its locations. By Woodruff, 1998, other factors which may help with social grouping might include religion affiliations, leisure time activities, and membership of community organizations. A group of speakers may appear to be very similar in terms of social class membership. However, they differ considerably in their use of language as they interact in the social network they belong to and the spoken and written genres used by those networks. And 5 is about discourse and gender. Early work in the analysis of gender and discourse look at the relationship between the use of language and the biological category of sex. This has now moved to an examination of the ways language is used in relation to social category, or rather, the socially constructed category of gender. As Wedderl 2002 explained, gender is not just a natural and inevitable consequence of one's sex. It is rather part of the routine, ongoing work of everyday, mundane, social interactions that is the product of social practice. It's by Eckert and McCord, 2003. By Lekov, 1975. Swaney Harburg Language and Woman Place. Purpose what she called woman language, that is use of language that is different from man's language, or rather, what she terms natural language. This language, she argued, included features such as the use of overly polite forms, the use of question tags, rising intonation in declaratives, the avoidance of expletive, a greater use of adjectives, eponyms, the use of more hedges and mitigating devices, more indirectness, and the use particular vocabulary items such as adorable, charming, and sweet. This woman language versus great, terrific, and cool very natural language. The language of female is indirect and implicit. For example, women were more expressive and polite in using language. They used more gesture and words signifying feelings, emotional, and physiological states. But the male is direct to contrary. For example, male tend to be more directive. They use simple words. The sixth point is about discourse and sexuality. The relationship between discourse and sexuality further complicated the topic of gender and discourse. Sexuality has a much more unconscious basis. Sexuality has many aspects: our biological gender, gender identity, gender role, and sexual orientations. Those aspects influenced by biological factors, psychological factors, and social factors. The language in use are produced by that issue, make different language productions. The lead character conversation about men and sex in the city, for example, are guided by the gay man's desire in the just the same way as a personal ad on a gay website guided by the gay man's desire for intimate connection with another man. Hello, Mr. Eko. The next.
Okay, yeah. Thank you
Mhm.
very much, Bu Anissa. I think it will be a very good discussion later on. And Pak Eko, would you please prepare for the next presentation from this group? Time is yours, Pak Eko.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Sewi. And now I will continue the discussion in the discourse and society. And number 7 is about the discourse and identity. Okay, a person may have a number of identities, each of which is more important at different point in time. They may have an identity as a woman, an identity as a mother, an identity as someone's partner and identity as an office worker, for example. The way in which people display their identities include this, the way they use language and the way they interact with people. Identities are not natural, however. They are constructed in large part through the use of discourse. Identity is not something that fixed and remains the same throughout a person's life. Many of the interaction in sex and the city are examples of the use of discourse to create, express, and establish social and other identities. A common way in which the character in the show do this is through analysis of both the word and the images that they have to create their use of the genre casual conversation. As Atkins and Slate argue, despite its sometimes aimless appearance and apparently trivial content, casual conversation is, in fact, a highly constructed, functionally motivated semantic activity, motivated by interpersonal needs continually to establish who we are, how we relate to others, and what we think of how the world is. Casual conversation is a critical linguistic site for the negotiation of such important dimension of our social identity as a gender, general location, sexuality, social class membership, ethnicity, and subcultural and group affiliation. Akin and Sled argue that people do not engage in casual conversation just to kill time, but rather to negotiate social identities as well. As to negotiate, clarif- clarify, and extend interpersonal relation. As they put it, the apparent triviality of casual conversation distinguishes the significant interpersonal work it achieves as interaction, enact, and confirm social identities and relation. They describe this as the central paradox of casual conversation. As they argue, casual conversation is the type of talk in which people feel most relaxed, uh, thus spontaneous and most themselves. Yet, casual conversation is a critical site for the social construction of reality. Casual conversation do a number of things that are crucial to discussion of language and identity. Okay. They establish solidarity through the confirmation of similarities, and they assert autonomy through the exploration of differences. The way in which language is used in casual conversation, like all spoken interaction, is influenced by the relationship between the people speaking, the frequency with which they come into contact with each other, the degree of involvement they have with each other, and their sense of affiliation for each other. In the case of Sex and the City, each of the four female characters knows each other extremely well. Although they are the best of friends, they are each quite different and from quite diverse background. As they meet together, they share their experiences and negotiate their understanding of life, love, man, and sex. Bartolome argues that learning to succeed in Western academic setting is not just a matter of language, but knowing the linguistically contextualized language of the particular spoken and written discourses that are valued in the particular academic setting. Some students may choose to become part of this academic discourse, and others may resist this. They may fear a loss of cultural identity and not wish to be drowned in the new academic culture. Prince 2000. Ilona, the Polish student in Prince study, felt exactly this. She resisted rewriting her thesis because the thesis she was being asked to write did not reflect who she really was and how she wanted to present her argument in the discourse. She wanted to wait to the very end of her thesis to reveal her findings, writing her thesis as a detective novel, as she described it. Her view of her research was that was something exciting and should be presented as such, like the revealing a mystery, a closer and closer progression toward an answer. Prince 2000, page 78. As Casanave argues in her book writing games, learning to belong to a community of practice can take time and a great deal of effort. It can be filled with tension and conflict. As she points out, newcomers inevitably feel the foreignness and unfamiliar practices, the unwieldiness of new form and tools of communication and relationship with more experienced practitioners that are not necessarily harmonious. This is exactly what Ilona experienced as she struggled to write her thesis. Ilona found, as too many student writers, that the discourses and practices of the discipline in which she was writing was very different from what she had brought from her home culture. And unless she revised her writing, would undermine her relationship with her readers. Revealing her finding any sooner, she felt, killed the excitement of the reading. She want she wanted to write a thesis with twist and turn, as he had done in Polish. She found, however, that she needed to revise her thesis so it will more closely fit the expectation of the reader of her text. The people that had The, the people that had been assigned to examine her thesis in order to pass, she still asks at the end, however, for what reason I do have to read the 15 pages if I already know. The answer? Ilona resisted then, as much as she could, the underlying value and ideologies that underlie in piece of writing that she was producing a master's thesis in the field of engineering written in an English medium university. Okay, now discourse and ideology. Okay,
Sorry for interrupting,
okay,
Michael.
yes.
Sorry for interrupting, Ibu Moderator, Bu Siwi.
Iya, Pak.
I'm afraid if I am raping your time, because now on the time is showing 3 past 5 minutes. So I'm afraid that you need some space to prepare for joining and attending the next session, the next lecture. So it will be not wise if I take your time with me until the end of the session. So all of you, I guess Pak Eka will be continuing presenting the slides by next week, and Bu Siwi, you are still as the moderator, and we are going to have these intriguing discussions with the sessions, right? And before closing, I would like to say that you can do any research using discourse studies. You can figure out any kind of topics using discourse studies. Whatever in our education sectors, we can use discourse studies to be analyzed, right? So again, it will be very interesting topic to be discussed by next week, and I do hope group 3 and group 4 you can prepare for the next session. But next week we are still with group 2. Okay. Yes, Anissa.
Sorry, sir. Next week, I already permission with Mrs. Memnong, that I join on Prapor Prof on Purwokerto on
Yes.
Friday and Saturday, and
Mhm.
I get dispensation for campus, and I
Okay,
can
thank
join.
you,
I can
Anissa, for giving
join.
me the information. No problem. I permit you not joining and attending for the next session. You are still having, your member of the groups, and Pak Eko, Bu Wiwin will be helping you to answer all the
Yes, sir.
questions. Okay, no problem,
And
Anissa.
for
Good
to
luck.
Thank you
send
so
the
much, sir.
question right now from the chat box, I will keep in my notes or maybe in
Yes.
the.
Yeah, Pak Dias, we have two questions already, but we want to discuss it next week or right now?
Next week.
Next
Next
week.
Yeah,
week, yes.
just keep the questions
All
by
right, yeah.
Bu Wiwin and Pak Eko and Bu Siwi. So next week we
Okay.
are going to discuss it. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Pak Jafar, what about the lecture with whom we will study next week? With you or with Pak Jafar?
with me, with me.
Oh, okay.
Still with you, Pak. Alhamdulillah. Ya.
Alhamdulillah.
What does it mean, Pak
What does
Taufik?
it mean?
We feel safe.
Pragmatic, what does it mean?
Yes.
It means we continue our discussion, right? Mr.
Good,
Yes.
good. Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Because
The
if
class is
there
full.
is any problem,
Yeah. So there are many things that we need to discuss related to discourse and society.
Okay, I keep the two questions for next week.
Mm. Okay, we are waiting for your questions then. Thank you, everyone.
Excuse
okay,
me,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pak Dias.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Okay, to
Nancy
this
and
podcast.
Bye.
Okay.
See you for the next
Thank
class.
you.
See you,
Okay,
everyone.
see you too.
So,